15, Peyton Manning at quarterback.
Well, Mike, I did a little math last night, which I don't recommend to anyone at home. The only reason I don't recommend it is that, counting and adding and all that stuff, that late on Thursday night with a Friday show looming, can be troublesome. But I've come up with this stat that if you were a fan of the Raiders, of the Broncos, or of the Chargers, in other words, and maybe even if you're Sean Payton, who took this job and got paid $1 jillion to take this job in Denver, I just want you to know what you're up against. Patrick Mahomes, obviously is still in football age a young man. He's 28 years old. So you got to figure he's going to play what? Another 10 years? Patrick Mahomes, in his first 31 games against AFC West foes, is 28-3. The average margin of victory in those 28 wins, 15 points. Mike, it's got to be incredibly depressing for the rest of this division to look at Patrick Mahomes on a night where he doesn't have everything going for him. On a night when, the worst defense in football, or certainly one of the worst, and statistically it was, when that defense plays pretty well against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes is still looking for those receivers he can rely on. Is it going to be Sky Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, whatever? After he loses Tyreek Hill and Juju Smith-Schuster in successive years, he has not found the golden wide receiver yet. And still, it is Kansas City 19, Denver 8, in a game that never really felt that close. And so, Mike, I don't know what you do if you're in the AFC West right now, watching Patrick Mahomes every time he plays you dispatch you with relative ease.
And I think the only thing you can do is hope to supercharge your own offense to the point where you can outscore him, especially when, and the thing that dawned on me yesterday, because Chris Sims and I have been talking about how the Chiefs just don't really keep their foot on the gas pedal, if they even find the gas pedal. It just feels sluggish at times. We said yesterday they play with their food. That's what the Chiefs do, and that's what they were doing last night. They get a little something going, they screw around, have an ugly interception, field goal instead of a touchdown. There just isn't a crispness there. I can remember when, not that long ago, the Chiefs would slip into overdrive and score 28 points in a quarter. It would be like the basketball stretch where you go 18-2. Game's kind of close. Here come the Chiefs with an 18-2 run, and that's it. They don't do that anymore. It's more methodical. It's more plotting. It was effective in the postseason last year, but at some point they do need that number one receiver they can rely upon. They're trying to will Kadarius Toney into that role, and they keep designing plays for him that just don't work. Runs don't work. That pass didn't work. He caught a touchdown last night, his first one ever in the regular season, I think, or at least first one this regular season. He may have had one late last year after he arrived via trade. But his numbers weren't great going into this game. And I would say last night his numbers weren't off the charts. Nobody's other than Travis Kelce's were off the charts. I mean, I thought maybe they'd give Kelce the night off to heal up that ankle. But if they had, I don't know that anybody would have done anything for that offense. And the game may have been 10-8. Instead of 19-8. Or maybe they would have lost the game without Kelce last night because he still continues to be that one reliable piece in the passing game that Patrick Mahomes can go to. But there isn't that other guy that stepped up, Peter. And I don't know when, how, and if that guy does. Is this just the way their offense is going to be this year with Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and a collection of guys that you just hope will make a play when their number is called?
Well, Mike, when you think about it, this sort of reminds me in a rich man's problem way It sort of reminds me of what we're seeing now with the Patriots, but really in a different way. You know how people are saying now with the Patriots, hey, welcome to the rest of the league. You haven't experienced this for 22 years, 23 years. And so, the Kansas City offense right now is basically Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, and, this is really going to age me, Spawn and Sane and pray for rain. The old pitching rotation where you had Warren Spahn and Johnny Sane 1,000 years ago, and then you hope for a rain out. And it's almost the same thing with Kansas City right now, that Patrick Mahomes is going to have to manufacture every week guys he hopes will get open and just keep working with him. And I'm reminded in training camp this year, Mike, one of the things that Patrick Mahomes told me is he said that in this offseason, Sky Moore was everywhere with him. He did not miss any session anywhere with Patrick Mahomes, trying to make sure that he was not only on the same page, but could work with him to the point that you probably remember in the Super Bowl against Atlanta, right down the stretch and in overtime of that game, the New England Patriots won with Chris Hogan and Malcolm Mitchell making so many big plays down the stretch. And when I asked Tom Brady about it a week later, one of the things he said is 110 practices. I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I have practiced with these two guys and with this whole thing 110 times. And that includes, before practice, timing on comeback routes, which particularly were killer to the Falcons in that game. And Patrick Mahomes did the exact same thing with Sky Moore. And you've got to figure that eventually this year, I still believe that his relationship with his receivers from all of those practices in the offseason is going to pay off. It paid off last year, and I think it's going to pay off this year. But obviously, it's been a struggle right now.
Last night for the receivers, Rashee Rice, 4 catches for 72 yards. Kadarius Toney, 3 for 9 yards and that 1 touchdown. Sky Moore had 2 for 22. Noah Gray, the other tight end, had 2 for 14. Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson each targeted once with no catches. And again, the star of the night, Travis Kelce, 9 targets, 9 catches, 124 yards. Aggravated the ankle at one point when he got tackled, and the guy twisted a little bit, not on purpose. That's just kind of what they do. They grab that ankle, they don't let go, and you could see it get caught up a little bit, and he kind of had to run it off, and he seemed fine. He came back and didn't miss a beat. We'll see how that ankle holds up when the next round of injury reports comes out. But without him, they would have been stuck. And also, Isaiah Pacheco, he's the top runner. And beyond Travis Kelce, he had the most catches last night with 6 on 6 targets. I mean, it's amazing how efficient and crisp Patrick Mahomes is with the guys that he's been around. Kelce, 9 targets, 9 catches. Pacheco, 6 targets, 6 catches. Now, with Rice, it was 4 targets, 4 catches, but elsewhere, it's just going to take some work. And each of these, you're right, these games stack, practices stack. Sometimes the light does go on. Maybe they will be looking to trade for somebody. If there's somebody available, it's all going to work out just right. And then you got to get a guy up to speed on the fly. It took Kadarius Toney a while to get up to speed last year. But by the time the postseason rolls around, that's what that would be for, if they would even do that. You either hold with the guys you have and you hope it gets better, or you see who's out there as that trade deadline looms on October 31st. But, Peter, they're just not as dynamic. They're not as fast break as they used to be. That's the Dolphins now. The Chiefs just kind of plug along, make a play, score more points than you do, and it helps when your defense is pretty damn good. It helps that they push Sean Payton to within 6 minutes and 7 seconds of his first shutout ever. And it looked like they weren't going to score any points, but for that great catch by Cam Sutton in the end zone that they didn't realize was a touchdown. It happened so quickly and it was so artful, they had to take a look at it. They had to throw the red flag to have that ruled into a touchdown. But for that, maybe they would have been shut out last night. So that defense is really helping stack those W's we saw being eaten at the top of the show, because the offense right now, if they did not have a good defense in Kansas City, the offense would have a hard time scoring enough points to win enough games.
Yeah, I'll say there's a couple of things about that defense that really impressed me last night. I think Amazon had a really, really good video or a really good replay of the first interception. And I don't know if you remember the Nick Bolton, his positioning on that interception. But, Mike, when I've been around this team in the last year or so, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, teammates talk about the instincts of Nick Bolton. And, the Kansas City defense never really seems to feature any single person, except probably, Chris Jones. It just seems to be this faceless mass of guys. But this interception by Nick Bolton, I thought was just absolutely beautiful last night. And you're not going to see it right here, but the play itself, the reason why, and here it is, the reason why it was beautiful, when they showed it from the end zone, and I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to see that, but when they showed that from the end zone, it showed the exact thing that a linebacker is supposed to do when you're playing against a quarterback who you have read well. Okay, and what I mean by that is you wait until he commits to where he's going to throw. And Nick Bolton was very patient. And then he leapt on that ball as soon as he knew where it was going. And I applaud what they have done on this defense in making guys like Nick Bolton, feature guys. It's the same way that Steve Spagnuolo did it with guys with the Giants when they beat the Patriots, and had that great game against the Patriots. You have to basically read an offense's tendencies over and over and over again, and that's really what Nick Bolton did last night.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.